Buckle up, friends. It's about to get a little bit crazy here in this book haul. I told you before that I have library book sales in the fall, and over the last 2 weekends, I went to 5 different library sales. Yikes, that's so crazy. So I have about 62 things to show you today. I'm not going to talk very long clearly about any of these, but I want to let you know that overall I spent $35.50. I spent $35.50 on over 62 books. So I have 62 here to show you, but in the trunk of my car, I have a whole ton more that I'm taking to my used bookstore because 3 of these sales were fill a bag for a certain amount. 2 were for $5 and 1 was for $10. So I filled the bag with what I wanted, and then I filled the bag the rest of the way with stuff that I didn't really necessarily want, but that I can take to a used bookstore and get credit for something that I do want. That might be working the system a little bit, but it helps these libraries get rid of their books, and it filled up my bag. I wasn't breaking the rules. So let me just jump right in. I'm going to start with the least successful library sale that I went to, where I only bought, I think, 5 things that I wanted. So here we go. I have Colm Toibin's Mothers and Sons. This is a book of short stories, which I'm trying to gather a few more books of short stories to see if I like them. And I think they're great for readathons. So I picked up this one. The Secret of Nightingale Palace by Dana Sachs. This one I picked up and put down and picked up and put down and finally decided I'm going to give it a try. This is a family saga where we follow a grandmother and her granddaughter, and we hear from both of their perspectives. It just seemed like it would be a good one. I have Irma Joubert, The Girl from the Train. I think I have read this quite a long time ago, but I don't own the book. This has some stickers I need to work on taking off, but I'm excited for that one. It is a Christian historical fiction. I have 2 nonfiction that I got from this, and one of them is Mudhouse Sabbath by Lauren F. Winner. I read her book, Girl Meets God, and really enjoyed it. I'm not exactly sure what this one's about, but I know I loved her other book, and it's quite little. It will also be perfect for a readathon. And then I grabbed Steve Martin, The Pleasure of My Company, a novel. I think he's hilarious. So I thought I would pick up a little book by him. I'm preparing for readathons. I better participate in a little bit more of them. Oh, and then because I'm a nanny, I like finding books like this. So this is just a book of some summer activities that will come in handy next summer, and it fit in my bag, so there you have it. This library was 50 cents for paperbacks, and I think I only got paperbacks, so I spent $3 here picking up a historical fiction called Mr. Churchill's Secretary by Susan Elia McNeill. Dee Henderson is one of my favorite Christian authors, and this is Unspoken. It's one that I don't own yet. I grabbed another Philippa Gregory that I don't have called The King's Curse. Oh, I love the cover of this one. It's Newport by Jill Morrow. It looks very kind of old 1920s, maybe 30s, and 1920s. This one deals with Prohibition, moving in towards the Great Depression, historical fiction in New England. Another historical fiction, Becoming Marie Antoinette by Juliette Gray. I'm trying to branch out and get some historical fiction that's not just World War II, even though that's my favorite. I wanted to get a few other things. And then a Christian fiction, Colleen Coble, Because You're Mine. And I believe this is a bit of a thriller. The next one is from the VCU, Virginia Commonwealth University book sale that they have every year. I grabbed Mr. Dickens and His Carol by Samantha Silva. At first I picked up an ARC of this, but then I saw that they had a hardcover for $2 was the hardcovers, and the paperbacks were 50 cents. So I'm adding this to my December TBR, obviously. I have The Wardrobe Mistress, which is another novel of Marie Antoinette by Megan Masterson. I'll be learning about Marie Antoinette, apparently. The Boat Runner by Devin Murphy. And this one does take place during World War II, and it follows some Dutch boys who are forced to work with the Germans in some way. Ted Dekker. This is one of his more recent releases. It's not super recent, but it's AD 30, and he is one of my favorite Christian fiction authors. Heather Gutenkopf, One Breath Away. I believe this one is about a school shooting. Again, this is an author that I haven't read any from. I've talked about her quite a bit in the last few videos, so I just saw this one for 50 cents. It's in perfect condition. The Other Alcott by Elise Hooper. This is one that has kind of been on my radar, and I was thrilled to find it. I grabbed a middle grade called Harriet the Spy by Louise Fitzhugh. This is a popular middle grade that somehow I never read when I was younger, or if I did, I don't remember it, so this will be picked up during middle grade March this year. And finally, First Frost by Sarah Addison Allen, which I will be also adding to my December TBR. This fill-a-bag was only $5. I have 12 books here, a cookbook, and a couple piano books, like 13 books here, which is fantastic. This Liz Curtis Higgs, Whence Come a Prince, is part of a series that is a retelling of Jacob, Rachel, and Leah, their story in the Bible. So, and it's set in Scotland. So I'm very excited to get some of these. I think I got one other in this library book sale haul, but excited for this. Another Christian fiction is Love Finds You in Sisters, Oregon by Melody Carson. These are just fun, fluffy Christian romances. Diane Chamberlain, Keeper of the Light. Girly Girl Bookworm talks about Diane Chamberlain all the time and how much she loves her, and I've heard a few other people talk about her, and I've never read anything by her. So this one was in really good condition, so I thought I would get it. It's just going to be a romance, I believe. This is called The Buddha in the Attic by Julie Otsuka. This one tells the story of, I believe, 8 women who came from Japan to San Francisco to be picture brides, which I'm not really sure what that is, but it's super short, and it's going to talk about 8 different women's stories of coming to America to be some kind of picture bride. This is another one that I picked up and put down and picked up and put down and finally just threw it in my bag because $5. I got a couple nonfiction from this book sale. I got Mere Christianity by C.S. Lewis. I have a mass market paperback that is well marked up because I had to read it for a class in college. So I thought it would be fun to reread this book but not have anything underlined and kind of see what stands out to me during this reread. Katie from Life Between Words on her podcast has talked about Bill Bryson, and this one is A Walk in the Woods. I loved the cover of that with the bear picking it. This is another nonfiction about nature writing, I'm assuming, but Bill Bryson often writes with some humor, so I'm hoping that this is just kind of a fun nonfiction at some point. I have another nonfiction here, but this one is set during World War II. It's Izzy's Fire, and it's Finding Humanity in the Holocaust by Nancy Wright Beasley. And I believe this is going to tell different stories of people who stepped outside of themselves and helped others during that horrible time. I think that will be very interesting to read. I picked up another book by Tracy Chevalier, and that is Remarkable Creatures. She wrote A Girl with the Pearl Earring, which I haven't read. I actually haven't read anything by her, and I think I have 4 or 5 now. But you can't pass them up when they're fill it in the bag for $5. I have the movie cover of Memoirs of a Geisha by Arthur Golden. I heard April from Getting Hygge with It and Game of Thrones girls Jess and Christina love this book. So it's definitely one that I would like to read. I've never read it. And I don't really mind this movie cover so much. I have another historical fiction called The Lace Reader by Brunonia Barry. So this is set in Salem. I'm assuming after the witch trials time, or maybe during. And it's about a woman who can read futures in the patterns within lace. I have here The Flight of Gemma Hardy by Margot Livesey. And honestly, the reason I got this is because it's set in part in Iceland and Scotland. And one of my things that I'm going to be doing in 2019 is to fill in a map of books that I read from different places. But this is about a girl who's taken from her family and is sent to a strict private school. So all things that I kind of am interested in, I feel like this will be a fun, maybe not fun, maybe sad read. And then the last 2 novels that I bought from this bookstore are middle grade, again, Among the Imposters and Among the Brave. These are part of the Among the Hidden series, or the Shadow Children sequence. This is book 2 and book 5. These are ones that I would like to collect. I have read this series. It starts with Among the Hidden. I started reading these when I was subbing in elementary school and really enjoyed them, so they're ones that I think would be fun to have on my shelves. I did grab a cookbook for my bag, and that is The Biggest Loser 30-Day Jumpstart. And I grabbed this not necessarily for the learning stuff at the beginning, but because there are a ton of recipes mixed throughout, and exercises as well, which will be fun, but all the recipes have pictures with them, which is definitely something that I enjoy. I have to take off the library binding of this one, but this is Christmas Remembered by Tommy DePaula, and he is one of my favorite children's book illustrators and authors, and I thought this would be cool because it's like through history and in other places, little reflections on how Christmas is celebrated in different places and in different times. So I think that will be an interesting book to read around the holiday season. Then I also just grabbed 3 pieces of piano music. I don't play very much classical piano anymore, but I do enjoy having some that I can work through every once in a while. So I grabbed a Christmas one that just has a whole ton of Christmas carols, which is fun for the holidays, and then a book from Schubert and just other piano music. All right, we've gone through 3 sales so far, and I have 2 left. This next one is actually from the Richmond Public Library System. In their main branch, they have a huge sale, and I'm actually a friend of the Richmond Public Library, but they never sent out a thing to volunteer. So I talked to the woman, and hopefully next time they have a book sale, I'll be able to help volunteer in sorting and setting up the shelves. That is very appealing to me. But I spent $7. I don't think I got any hardcovers. So these were all 50 cents a piece. I picked up 2 from Kim Edwards, who wrote The Memory Keeper's Daughter. I have The Lake of Dreams and The Secrets of a Fire King. This one, The Secrets of a Fire King, is a book of short stories, again, which is amazing to me because it's such a short little book, but I'm excited to have those. I grabbed The Cellist of Sarajevo by Stephen Galloway. This is set in Sarajevo, which I've been there because I went to Bosnia to work at a camp for children a number of years ago, like 2004 or 5. And I've stood on the corner where the shot that was heard around the world happened. So I was instantly drawn to this little book. I have another in that series by Liz Curtis Higgs. This is Fair is the Rose. I picked up the movie cover of My Cousin Rachel by Daphne du Maurier. This is the next du Maurier that I would like to read. I have 2 others, I believe, on my shelf, but this is the one I'm the most interested in. I have 2 nonfiction. I picked up 101 Things You Should Know How to Do. I just couldn't stop like flipping through this, and it has some practical tips in there, so I think that will be fun to kind of flip through here and there. And then What Jane Austen Ate and Charles Dickens Knew, From Fox Hunting to Whist, The Facts of Daily Life in 19th Century England. I just thought this would be fun. Again, probably not to read from cover to cover, but to glance through every once in a while. One of my goals for 2019 is going to be to read The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexander Dumas. So I picked up this little mass market paperback, which is only 616 pages, but it just looks so massive. Anyways, I'm gonna read that next year. From my 2017 Booktuber Recommends books, I read City of Masks. I picked it up from the library. This was recommended to me by Kales from Kales Corner, and I really enjoyed City of Masks. It kind of is like an alternate universe set in Venice. And then I picked up the second one, City of Stars. So now I own those. These are also somewhat middle grade, maybe young YA. Another YA I picked up is The Heart of Betrayal by Mary E. Pearson. This is the second that follows The Kiss of Deception, which I already own. Another book that I've already read but I let someone borrow it and, oh, sorry, I kicked that. I used to own this. I let someone borrow it and never got it back. So it's An Invisible Thread, which was a book that I read also from that Booktuber Recommends project about a woman who kind of mentors and not adopts, but takes care of this homeless boy. Very, very good story there. I picked up another middle grade called Liddy by Catherine Patterson. She wrote a number of middle grade books. I think one of them was The Great Gilly Hopkins, which I had to read for a class in college. I really enjoy Catherine Patterson, and I'm excited to have another book by her, and this one's kind of a classic one, I think. And then I couldn't resist this book about books called The Archivist by Martha Cooley. This deals with a rare bundling of T.S. Eliot's letters and this rare bookstore. So I'm excited to have another book about books. Now we just have one more book sale, and this was fill a bag for $10. So it was the most expensive that I spent at any of these, but I did get some really good things. So let me show you. I grabbed a Steinbeck book, The Grapes of Wrath, which is in the same edition of my East of Eden book. So I'm not sure when I'll ever get to this because East of Eden is the next one that I want to read, but I love that it will match it on my shelf. Yay for a classic. I grabbed 2 children's books that are in perfect condition, and I'm going to give them to the little boy that I nanny on Tuesdays and Thursdays. We have the bigger paperback of the ABC book, but I thought it would be fun to have a board book because he likes to play with board books. And then the Itsy Bitsy Spider, which is one of our favorite songs. This edition is by Kate Toms, and it's just got these gorgeous little, it's kind of like a board book. It's real thick pages, and the illustrations are so lovely. So have those 2 kids books. I have 2 books that I already own, but I have them in hardcover, and I'm one of those weird people who prefers paperbacks. So I'm going to resell the hardcovers to the used bookstore and keep these paperbacks that are in perfect condition. Boy on the Wooden Box, which is a memoir from World War II, and The Women in the Castle by Jessica Shattuck, which is also World War II. I have 2 Christmas ones here. One is a Christian fiction, Love Finds You in the City at Christmas. So that's going on my December TBR. And this is also going on my December TBR, and it's L.M. Montgomery, Christmas with Anne and Other Holiday Stories. I will be taking this cover off and just keeping this as a plain little red book. It has a green ribbon, red and green, perfect little Christmas book. It's also going on my TBR for December. I picked up a Margaret Atwood that I'd never heard of before. It's The Year of the Flood. If you've read this, let me know. I have Fried Green Tomatoes at the Whistle Stop Cafe. This is a movie that I haven't seen in ages, but I used to love, and I've never read the book, so I thought that would be fun to have. Octavia Butler's Kindred. I read Parable of the Sower and didn't love it. I would like to give her another try, and I thought this one would be a good one to do that with. This is A School for Unusual Girls by Kathleen Baldwin. It's a Strange House novel, and I believe it's about this school that has girls who have certain powers. It's also historical fiction set in 1814 and Napoleon era. He's exiled in Elba. It sounded interesting to me, so I threw it in the bag. I have another Christian fiction, The Wedding Dress by Rachel Hauck. I have a few other books by her, and I'm excited that I found this one in pretty decent condition. I have to take off the library binding, but here is another in Louise Penny's Armand Gamache mystery series. Glass Houses is the name of it. So this will go in this pile of books in there. And this is the last one. I was so excited to find this because I just was listening to What Should I Read Next, and Georgia Hunter was the guest on there, and this is her book, We Were the Lucky Ones. And she was telling all about her family and how she wrote this book. So this is a historical fiction book, but it's based on Georgia Hunter's family, basically her grandparents in particular, and then their siblings. So this happens during World War II, and I don't know if they fled or somehow they ended up being dispersed kind of all over the world. Argentina, Brazil, in Europe, other places in Europe, America. And so we follow a lot of characters because I believe we follow a bunch of people from this family. But I really loved listening to her on What Should I Read Next? And so I was very excited when I found this perfect condition copy of her book. So there you have it. Over 60 books for just over $30. And considering that I have so many as well to return to the secondhand bookstore, I may end up making back that $30 in cash to spend at the bookstore. But now to find room on my shelves, that's not gonna happen. Thanks for watching. I would love to hear from you if you've read any of these books. There's no way I'm holding them up to show you. So I would love to hear from you in the comments below. As always, be sure to chat with me down there. Give this video a big thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll be chatting with you in another video very soon. Bye.